One was the politicians, one was the industrialists, one was the diamond merchants, another was the film stars and the music community. Big is not just about size, big is about the idea.
Correct.
Big is about the creative, big is not about the budget.
Best advice to someone planning a large scale event.
The first ever wedding organized by an event company was done by us.
But Shah Rukh is like that, no?
Shah Rukh is like that, Mr. Bachchan's like that, Anil Kapoor is like that, Salman is like that,
Yeah.
Ranveer is another madman.
Yeah, was in this industry also, no?
No, it wasn't an industry.
And you all did the Made in India also.
We did the Make in India. We shut down all our offices across the country because it was the country's prestige at stake.
Absolutely.
It's what we do beyond the work that makes the difference.
Michael Jackson concert was done by Wizcraft.
Michael Jackson was welcome to India.
Welcome to the wedding podcast. Our guest today is known as the founding father of the event industry. And I say this with a lot of fondness because as I entered this industry and I started to learn about events, I had some excellent interactions, on-job learning through this person who is mentor to many, many entrepreneurs in the event industry. I guess you all must have guessed it, but I must tell you, this is Sabbas Joseph, the founding member and managing director of Wizcraft Entertainment. Wizcraft, to me, is the agency which I can think of when we think of events as the first agency who has done the biggest, grandest events in the country, made the country proud by doing a lot of the first events in the history of the event industry. So we have with us none other than Mr. Sabbas Joseph.
Thank you, Aarti. Marry me.
You know, Sabbas, our conversation about the first that you all have done is so stuck in my head from the flight that we took that day from Jaipur back to Mumbai. And we were on a flight for, I think, an hour and a half.
I guess so, yeah.
And the list yet did not get completed. You remember that? So I feel the first of everything that Wizcraft has done. We'd love to hear a little bit of that journey and all the first things that you all have done, because I personally feel it's record-breaking.
Well, I mean, being the first off the ground itself is a feat by itself. It's also the joy of
True.
having been the pioneers. Now, if you're first off the ground, you have the advantage of being able to see opportunities before others have, and before others even existed. So, the first ever wedding organized by an event company was done by us. The
And
first
that time
time.
it was in this industry also, no?
No, it wasn't an industry. I mean, an industry came in as Wiz's left Wizcraft and started their own event companies, sometimes encouraged by us, etc. And that's how an industry was born
Yeah,
in many
yeah.
ways. And I think it's about the growth of an industry, growth of entrepreneurship. And that's really the story of event management in India. But if I come to your the first time a wedding was done in a stadium. Imagine a stadium like Wankhede Stadium being used as a venue, and the walls of the stadium being converted into a palace.
Oh, wow.
And another time, the same stadium was used and was converted into a temple city. And each temple or palace in that city had different podiums, different platforms to host different guests. So one was the politicians, one was the industrialists, one was the diamond merchants, another was the film stars and the music community, another was the managers and guests that had come in from across the world for that wedding, etc. So a lot of these opportunities that existed. And what first? I mean, you talk about entertainment shows where stars are performing and being paid $1 million fees
At
for
weddings.
that at weddings. I've done the wedding of Bharat Shah's family,
Yeah.
the diamond merchant Bharat Shah. Bharat Bhai had requested us to do it, and of course we were paid a fee, and he really looked after us as literally his sons and his family members. I remember doing that wedding at the Turf Club, and the Sangeet night had Laxmikant-Pyarelal ji performing.
Oh, wow. Which year was this?
This would have been in the 80s.
So,
okay?
you've actually done these path breaking or these larger than life sets and weddings when I think the ecosystem was not as developed.
No, the ecosystem developed as we did work. Work develops an ecosystem. Work develops an environment, an economy itself.
Yes.
And so, if I go back to the story of Laxmikant-Pyarelal ji, they were performing on stage, and there was a line of stage to go up and perform with them. That line included the biggest singers. I mean, I can't tell you, it included Lata ji.
Oh, wow.
And I can talk about the rest. I can talk about film stars who stood in line to go up there to shake a leg because they wanted to show their love for the family. It had nothing to do with money. It had nothing to do with commerce. It purely was the love that they wanted to show Bharat Bhai and his family by being there and acknowledging their presence and saying, thank you for being part of our lives
Yes.
and helping us be an industry. And he was really one of the big financiers and imagineers of our film industry in that sense. So you've had that. Then the first time international act performed in India, it was a Michael Jackson lookalike.
Cirque at some
Then there were Cirque acts
Yeah.
that came in. The first time they came in to India was for weddings.
Yes.
And then subsequently they went on to a Filmfare Awards, they went on to an IFA Awards, they went on to other events, or Femina Miss India that we'd organized. So if you look at intelligent lighting, we talk about computerized lighting today as if we're talking about computers.
Yeah.
It was an era where computers did not exist.
True.
And you had computerized lighting, and we had none in India. And I remember we wanted to have that because it would transform the set and everything that the wedding looked like. And Bharat Bhai said, if you want to do it, go buy it and bring it to India. And he supported us to buy it, bring it to India, and then start a rental company to offer the same lights to other event companies and other events.
Wow.
And
so
that
that
is
was
how
the beginning of
that is how intelligent lighting, the sophisticated lighting that you see on events today was born. Video walls, first time at a wedding.
Yeah.
Lasers, first time at a wedding. Subsequently, others did it at brand promotion and this and the other. The beauty about weddings is that the clients at weddings want to experiment.
Yes.
They're willing to do it and to be first.
Yeah.
They want to be the first. They want to be, it's like, that mundan kind of concept. The first haircut, the first person who dreamed it big or dreamed
Yeah.
it differently. And in trying to be the first, they allow us the chance to experiment, the chance to go beyond, the chance to be global, the chance to bring the best in the world and make them available at the wedding.
Yeah.
So you've seen Preston Bailey come here. You've seen some of the best designers. You've seen the best architects. And even the event industry and the wedding industry actually has a lot to do with the film industry. So the sets that we talk about, like I spoke about this wedding at the Wankhede Stadium, it had Bijan Das Gupta. There are sets that we've done with Nitin Desai. There are sets that we've done with Samir I forgot, Chanda. Different architects, different set designers. Even today, the girls who did Kalank,
Yeah.
they're doing a lot of weddings
Yes.
with us. Umang Kumar, another awesome film director.
I think people have this perception that what we see in award functions, what we see in these larger than life corporate events, concerts, is then an inspiration for wedding. But you have kind of given a different light, and it all actually began with some of these big weddings and then moving on to the awards functions and the corporate events. So weddings has fundamentally existed in the grandeur and the large scale for years.
To be honest,
But now it's
the
like
number
a-
of weddings are more than corporate events to
Correct.
start with. The budgets at weddings are bigger than that at corporate events. Personal spending is a lot more free than in a corporate. Truth is this, that what weddings do for the event industry is karmic.
Yeah.
Because it just transforms things. It transforms your imagination, transforms opportunities, transforms catering companies.
Yeah.
I mean, look at them. They could be just caterers doing some small stuff, and then you give them a wedding, and then they just transform into having chefs, having different kind of cuisines, having different kind of experimentation because they have to be different every time they're
Yes,
out there.
yes.
So all of that that comes in has helped not just the wedding industry, but the entire event industry and the event ecosystem to develop into something that is innovative, creative, high quality, and it's
Yeah.
constantly changing for the better.
You know, Wizcraft has always been known for the biggest, largest, the grandeur, opulent. Is there a perception when clients come to you that are they hesitant that will you handle only the big ones, or y'all are open to creating an experiential but mid-size, intimate, a very private affair? Because I think the perception very much with larger agencies like Wizcraft is अगर हमारे पास बहुत बड़ा बजट है और हमारे पास बहुत बड़ा स्केल है then only we go to them. I want your view on this, that what should people expect?
I think people come to us for various reasons. One is because they want it to be big.
Yeah.
They want it to be different. And big is not just about size, big is about the idea.
Correct.
Big is about the creative. Big is not about the budget.
Yeah.
Big is really about what is that experience going to be. And I think clients come in with that belief that if I go to Wizcraft, it's going to be completely different. It's going to be a transformation. And I think we're great at that. We think differently. We want to be different every time that we are out there. And that's also an advantage.
Yeah.
Because we've been there, done that. We know how to think scale.
Yeah.
We know how to execute at scale. And we're able to deliver. So there's a track record. You come to Wizcraft because it's an insurance policy. It's an insurance policy against failure.
I love that, what you're
You
saying.
know, and you can,
I'm going to use that.
yeah. I mean, you can come with the president of the United States, his visit to be managed, or I mean, we did the Namaste Trump event probably within about 15, 20 days.
And you all did the Made in India also.
We did the Make in India
Make
in
in
Hanover.
India.
We've done multiple such projects within record time spans. I mean, the smallest time spans. Sometimes we wonder whether we are risking too much by doing it. But often it is the country's prestige.
True.
It is the prestige of a client who's been there with you for so long. And when it comes to the country, I mean, nothing matters more actually.
Yeah.
You can risk everything for it. So when we did the Commonwealth Games, I mean, I'm moving away from your wedding
it's interesting
podcast.
to know this.
The entire place was raining. Delhi was being rained, and the ground was soaked with water. I'm not saying that there was sand, there was water. And in that scenario, you bring in trucks of sand, you bring in everything else, and you still pull it off with one rehearsal.
Wow.
Only one rehearsal we got on the venue, because everything else it was a miracle that we were there. And most of the foreigners who were employed for the Commonwealth Games, they left. They said, we're not risking our careers, we're not risking anything that we have built our lives for on India.
Yeah.
We're going away. And I remember the cabinet secretary of the country at that point, and Sheila Dixit and Suresh Kalmadi looking at us and saying, can you all help? We shut down all our offices across the country. All the visas were moved to Delhi, to the Commonwealth Games site. And we managed it for a month and a half. And we just took over and executed because it was the country's prestige at stake.
Absolutely.
There's no such thing as a failure possible.
Yeah.
And I remember there was that balloon that was there, the aerostat. The aerostat was on the ground when the show began. And on the countdown, that aerostat went up. And as that aerostat went up, you could see that stadium, the hearts pounding, the hopes of a nation rising. And that memory, that feeling, I've got goose flesh when talking to you, I can never take away.
Yeah.
Because it was worth all that we went through. It was worth all that we went through post that. And it will always be worth a lot for us because we held the hopes of 1 billion and more people together. And it matters.
You know, it's amazing, Sabbas. I've always been so fascinated to know how each of the first things that have happened in the country clearly has been curated, executed, and made India proud is done by Wizcraft. So that's really very, very, I would say it's very heartwarming to say that today you are with us on the wedding podcast, which is probably a very small part of your entire portfolio of business that you all do. And in, you know, three partners, I mean, for me to just imagine that three people coming together and having a vision, taking this company, success by success, growing 30 years together, I'm assuming at least that's the kind of number I remember. Today, partnerships are so short lived, they don't last the test of time. So, what's the secret and the leadership guru mantra that you have to tell when people are looking at partnerships and making them work for years?
We've completed 36 years together.
Wow.
Andre Timmins, Viraf Sarkari, Sabbas Joseph, all Wizes. We have the same designation for years as directors. There's no one who's managing director. There is no one who's chairman. And I think the difference is this, that you can start a conversation with one person,
Yeah.
continue it with the second, and finish it with the third. And chances are the conversation would end in the same way, irrespective of who you started with. And that's the beauty, because if you are bound by the values, if you're bound by the journey, if you're bound by honesty and commitment, there are failures. We've gone through lots of failures.
I'm sure lots of ups and downs.
If you can last out the failures, the successes will come.
Yeah.
I'd never judge any company or any success story by their successes. I'd always judge it by the failures. And your real test as a human being or as a leader comes in, what did you do when you failed? So when I'm recruiting somebody today, I always ask them, it doesn't matter which level they are, what did you do when COVID hit the world?
Yeah.
And in that is the test of character. In that is the test of who they are, what they are, and where will they be when the chips fall down for you.
Yeah.
And the chips will fall down. Let's not make any bones about it. Whoever you are, wherever you are, you will fail.
Yeah.
What happens when you fail? Who's going to be with you? What will they do? And how will they do what they do? So I think the joy of Viz's Andre, Viz Sabbas, Viz Viraf is really that our vision, our journey, our values have translated into what our teams believe, how our teams work. And it's got into action through Wizcraft. So Wizcraft is a story of the values that we hold very high. And I think that's what's allowed it to succeed. I don't think it's the work. I think it's purely the values. The work is a result of the values.
You must have lost count of the Viz that have moved out of Wizcraft and are today successful entrepreneurs running their own entities and businesses successfully. The beauty is I've always seen y'all as connected with them, and I find them yet calling themselves Viz, which clearly states the kind of culture and the work ethics that y'all were practicing or do practice yet in Wizcraft, which is amazing. Coming back to the first few weddings that you did, y'all have always been very close to Bollywood because of the award functions and, of course, with the IFA IP. And there are families who get so mesmerized and want Bollywood at their weddings. Tell us that one story which you feel that, was a very different experience where Bollywood was incorporated and, y'all were approached because of that being the main reason of you to handle the wedding.
I think we get called on these kind of events very often.
Yeah.
Especially ones that feature celebrities, feature stars, because managing them and actually making sure that they are at home is key.
Yeah.
We obviously have a specialized team and a specialized service in that regard, which is only available to ourselves. I mean, it's not something that we do anywhere and everywhere. It's only for ourselves because it's our team, it's our event. And anyway, they're so busy that they don't have time, or we don't have time to do someone else's events in that regard. I've had stories, I can tell you, where we've done an event with Shah Rukh, and Shah Rukh post the event realized that the mother-in-law is in hospital. This happened in Delhi. It was for a relative of Ellen Mittal's.
Okay.
And the mother-in-law was in hospital. And he said, event's over. Can we go and visit her?
How sweet. But Shah Rukh is like that, no?
Shah Rukh is like that. Mr. Bachchan's like that. Anil Kapoor is like that. Salman is like that.
Yeah.
There are several of them who are very much, they'll care about people.
Yeah.
They'll get into the family. Ranveer is another madman.
Yes.
The way he gets involved with every family that he goes to for a wedding, he's performing.
He just is one of the guests.
But
he loves
becomes
dancing.
a guest. He becomes part of the family. And the energy that he puts in, the innovations that he'll come up with, and the effort he puts in, that's what defines that wedding. It defines that experience. So even if there are multiple weddings in that same family, they're happy having Ranveer because he's already become a member of their family. So it's really what we all have opportunities. It's what we do beyond the work that makes the difference. And I think that's really what matters.
Sabbas, we were recently in Jaipur for the Wed In India Expo, and it was the first initiative by the Ministry of Tourism to take this whole Wed In India wave and I would say sentiment forward. And you represented the entire industry on our behalf to them. And it was such an amazing presentation, which I have already spoken to you about, that you can just say the most difficult things in the most easy way to anybody. But I'd really want you to please give a gist of this whole Wed In India Expo and what we spoke there to our audience. It would be lovely for them to hear.
We do weddings looking for picturesque destinations. What is the wedding opportunity? The wedding opportunity is a 75 billion opportunity. The weddings from India alone. It's the intersection point of tourism, hospitality, fashion, jewelry, event management, entertainment, cinema. It's really that inflection or intersection point. With a 75 billion opportunity, with India going from a 3 trillion economy to a 10 trillion economy, India going from the 5th largest economy in the world to the 3rd largest economy in the world within the next few years, the world has no choice but to look at India. India has no choice but to look at India itself.
Yes.
And the way we can propel this opportunity is working with the government, is working with the country and its own destinations. We today have 10 destinations in India, which one can refer to as great infrastructure for destination weddings.
Correct.
I won't say great actually, I'd say good infrastructure for destination weddings. Now imagine if we were able to convert 10 into 20, 20 into 50, and 50 into 101. We have unique destinations.
We do.
But because we don't use them, infrastructure does not develop over there. Investments are not made in hotels, in roads, in other facilities that require to be done. Event management infrastructure is not available there. People are not available there. Training is not done. Can you imagine, we as an event industry employ today 10 million people across the various categories.
Wow.
10 million
And this
people
is the kind of
skilled and unskilled workers.
Yeah.
We in India have 40% of the people who own event companies who are women.
Especially in the wedding segment.
We have 35 to 40% of the people working also women. So we are employing people across categories, across religions, across so-called castes, etc. It doesn't matter in this industry. And we are that unifying factor. I believe that we as the wedding industry, have a larger role to play
Yes.
and a larger vision and larger opportunity and a responsibility too. A responsibility to India and its people. And I think Wed In India is a step in that direction. Can we help develop the infrastructure across the country by doing weddings? This is also the Honorable Prime Minister's vision. The perspective is this: I'd say yes. And if we're doing weddings of our own in India, it's a great opportunity to bring in the dollars from across the world,
Yeah.
attract weddings from across the world to happen in India. Very often, the infrastructure in India is not suitable for Indian weddings,
True.
which are large, they're big, fat Indian
Yes,
weddings.
yes.
But the infrastructure in India is perfect for international weddings,
Yeah, they
which
like
are
it. Mid-size
low in size,
numbers,
but they are all about impact. They're all about, what do you say,
Experience.
intimacy and experience. And India offers guests from across the world a perfect opportunity to be hosted here, see a virgin land, and our people are hospitable.
yes.
What would it take? Maybe some attention on the visas, attention on facilitation at the airports, facilitation across hotels,
Yeah.
making venues available, making our prices attractive, which is where our hotels and our hospitality industry is going wrong. But then I can't blame them, because if everyone is ready to pay the kind of dollars that they are paying when they're doing weddings across the country, and there's less infrastructure, the hotels are using it to their advantage. But as we grow, that advantage will disappear. India, its hospitality industry, will have to focus on service, will have to focus on quality, will have to focus on experience and true hospitality. And if we're able to do all that, weddings that are happening across the world will stay back in India. Weddings that are happening in other parts of the world,
Will come to
international weddings, will also come to India. In Jaipur, we had 16 wedding planners that were
Correct.
brought in by the government. And all of them went back with a rich experience saying, we are waiting for the first chance to host a wedding in India. We want to work with all of you. And these were international wedding planners who were coming to India for the first time. They've been across the world. They don't need to be nice to us.
Yeah.
They don't need to be saying nice things about us, saying, okay, we were hosting them, all right, that's fine. But even after they've gone back home, they've remained positive and are looking at opportunities to host weddings in India. What would it take for our tourism industry or tourism ministry to do this? It'll require to work in collaboration
Yes.
with event planners, wedding planners, with the hotels, with venues, with people in the fashion space, sari draping, tying off your safa, the caterers, the catering, weddings on beaches, weddings at historic locations, celebrations at forts, celebrations at possibly temples and temple grounds. I think palaces are available. We've got the infrastructure, we've got the facilities, we've got the history and the legacy. We have to open our minds and open our doors. And the opportunity is waiting to walk right in.
You know, this brings me to the, somewhere you mentioned in your conversation about training and how important it is for us to be ready.
Yeah.
I feel there's definitely a big gap in how we perceive hospitality in a hotel when it's being done by a trained individual from the hospitality background, or when we take temps and then we work with them, or the freelancer community, which is so big. And I think training is extremely important. And I also know you all have started something in the education segment for events and weddings. Are you all training at all levels? What are the kind of different trainings that you all offer? Because I think as this growth is coming forward, a lot of youngsters and a lot of young guns have to be trained to be managing this.
I think the opportunity exists. The skilling aspect requires to be attended to. We at the present moment training the best of the best to be the best. Our training at the Wizcraft Mime Management Institute for Media and Entertainment and the Global Wedding Academy is oriented towards building leaders
Okay.
for event planning companies, to be event planners, and to be entrepreneurs. It is my personal belief and Wizcraft's belief that the future of India is not going to be about the people seeking jobs. The future of India is going to be about job creators. And we have a responsibility to be able to groom people to go out and become job creators, become entrepreneurs. And that is really the opportunity. So we are focused on that. But I think you're correct in what you're saying. We require to have specialized training facilities for temps. When we do an IFA Awards,
Yeah.
we go to a new country. We have a story of the Friends of IFA. So we recruit about 100 to 200 kids from colleges in that region who come because they are learning filmmaking, they're learning television production, they're learning event management, learning PR. And all of them come to an IFA about a week or 15 days in advance. Or they're learning tourism. They come 15 days in advance, and our whizzes train them, groom them, what to do, how to speak, what to do for pictures, not to ask for pictures, do this, do that, the do's and don'ts, and they're groomed. They're ready to receive the stars.
Yeah.
They're ready to work with the television production crew. They're ready to be the chaperones taking celebrities around the city to experience the city. They're ready on shopping. They're ready with wake-up call. They're ready to call the cars in time, line up the cars to receive, pick up the stars and take them to the next destination. That is all about training.
Correct.
And you have to be ready for the opportunity. I believe that the kind of size of weddings that exist, they fail because the crew working on it are not trained. They fail because there's no collaboration.
Yes.
Everyone's trying to be better than the other rather than being the best together. And I don't believe that any of us can succeed on our own. The only way we can succeed is by working with our partners, working with the client, working with each of the people who are involved, be it the hospitality side, be it the managers at the hospitality side, to the chefs,
Absolutely.
to the captains who are supervising the serving, the service, and the cleaning. More and more, across the business, we become conscious about sustainability. Now, what are your sustainability tools? What are your methods? How are you decomposting? How are you looking after plastic? How are
Yeah.
you cleaning up? How are you choosing the materials to be eco-friendly? All of that has become something that's very important because clients
Couples are very
are conscious of it.
Very conscious.
We are all becoming conscious that you have to be responsible to the earth.
True.
You have to be responsible to the people. Now, very often you're looking at these temps at schooling and their skilling, etc. That's one part. But are you looking at, are they being fed? Do you have a timeline when they will have their lunch?
Yeah.
When they'll have their dinner? When they'll have their breakfast? Do they have water first? Are you providing transport for them to move around? They too
Crew
require these
management
facilities.
by itself is a yeah.
Crew management is a separate task.
Absolutely.
And I think if you don't look after your people will not be able to look after your guests
That's such
and your clients.
Such a simple but such an important point you made, Sabbas.
And very often, we are not able to convince our clients that the crew that manages them require to be paid for, and looking after them is also to be paid for.
Correct.
Because people can't just arrive there on their own. People can't just eat on their own. There's infrastructure to be provided.
Yeah.
Catering at the right time, catering at the place of your work. All of those kind of things are very, very important.
Yes.
Then the other part is technology. You spoke about skilling, technology, use of technology.
Yeah.
How do you make it easier? How do you make it smooth? How do you make it integrated? Now, today you've got many apps, you've got many other aspects. But who's using it?
Yeah.
The guy who does not know English? The guy who does not know how to use tech stuff? Or is not able to work with the technology that's being provided. What does it take? It'll take a few hours to groom him,
Yeah,
to
you just
train
have
them
to
to do how to
standardize
use it.
process.
Once they understand it, they're very smart. They'll teach you how to do it. So, really, we ourselves are to blame for our own problems. We need to understand our problems, address them, and find solutions. And the solutions are there. The solutions, 9 times out of 10, is ourselves.
No,
Our
I
approach
totally
and our
agree.
attitude is what defines it.
No, no, I totally agree. And SOPs and standard processes and briefing your teams rightly, I think these somewhere, I think in the rush of taking from one project to another, a lot of companies miss out on
No,
this.
they all exist.
Yeah.
In every company they
Yeah,
exist, but it's
yeah.
only to show the client, not for implementation.
Yeah.
And the more you're implementing it, the better it is for everybody.
Absolutely. That's so amazingly put, you know. Training, I think, is the key.
Yeah.
And I feel the way you're saying the destinations will grow. There's so much opportunity in each of these destinations to have local teams there.
Yeah.
We are carrying teams from here to there. We can always have teams within those states
Yeah.
that can be, you know, trained and
And
they are
they'll know
ready.
their local language too.
Yes.
And they'll know the local resources and everything else that is required. Plus, you've added to the ecosystem, you've provided employment to the local community, you triggered the local economy, and that trigger will go towards development. The long-term benefits for the country, the world, and ourselves
Yes.
is unbelievable.
Guys, for y'all to know, Michael Jackson concert was done by Wizcraft. And, you know, I mean, I was that time so young and I wish I could be there, but I wasn't then. We didn't even have social media to view it. But, you know, I think you have a lot of stories. Tell us something about that show that will interest us.
I think the one thing that I remember of that show was the way Michael Jackson was welcomed to India. He arrived, we received him on the aircraft, and as we were getting him off, he looked left and he looked right. You know, typically there's a small gap between the aircraft and the stairs or the landing port. And he looked, and there was a sea of humanity on both sides. Everyone who had working in that airport had assembled there to say hello to him.
How lovely.
And he waved, he did a namaste, he looked the other side, did a namaste. As we went through the airport in Mumbai, we saw that the customs officials had left their places, the police had left their places, the loaders had left their places. The entire area of the customs and baggage area, etc., had all become a sea of humanity. And we had to wade through that sea of humanity to get out. And I remember in that, there was a child who was standing there with her parents, and the child tripped. Without saying anything, without doing anything, you could see Michael fast moonwalk across the space and just picked up the child and held that child so close to him. And the love that you saw from him for a child who he had no clue about actually made me wonder about all the stories that one had heard about
Yeah.
Michael and children and this and the other, how wrong they were.
Yeah.
And you saw that love that he had for the world, for children, and for everybody else, right through that journey, not just in that incident. As we went through from the airport to Bala Saheb's house and then onto the Oberoi, he got off the car and he went and visited slums. He entreated slum children, held their hands, took pictures, sang with them, danced with them. There were legion dancers across the road. Mumbai shut down that day.
Yeah.
People had come out on the streets. One side of the highway was shut down. It happened naturally because the people had come on the streets.
Yeah.
And as we went through to the Oberoi, there were schools that had shut down half day to welcome Michael Jackson. This wasn't something that we had asked for. It's not something that we encourage. But the streets of Mumbai leading up to the Oberoi were bedecked with children and people from Mumbai waving flags, holding placards, holding banners saying, welcome Michael, etc. And it was at that moment, in some ways, that you realized what one had managed to do
Yeah.
and the history that that moment actually was. But you are wrapped in it, you're just part of it and you're part of that moment. You forget everything else because you are only bothered about, I have to get into the Oberoi.
Yeah.
In the evening, we got a dinner. He's got to wash up. He's
You're
got to
on
do this.
work.
You're on work mode.
Total work
You
mode.
miss all of that.
Yeah.
And when I look back at every bit of that experience and that journey, you realize what you were part of, what you were part of creating. And like his tour said, history.
Yeah, it was history. Truly. What an interesting conversation, Sabbas, we've had. And this has been so insightful. I think not only it's very encouraging for the industry to watch this, because I think people love to look at the challenges and miss looking at the opportunities, And somewhere today you've highlighted the opportunities that come along with this whole Wed in India initiative. And it's up to people, private entities, government, all of them to just take this forward. And I think you mentioned in Jaipur, sooner than later, I think in the next few years, we'll be talking about a lot more happening already in our country. So we look forward to those times. And with this, thank you so much for being here. But before we finish, I have this rapid fire fun
Before you
segment.
go there, it's a time, and this time comes very rarely in a person's life or an industry's life. When you stop asking your country, what can you do for me? So far we've asked India, what can we do? What can you do for us? So far we've asked India, what can you do for us? Today we can tell India, we're here to make a difference, and we're going to do what we can do for India. And we're going to be that change.
That needs an applause for sure.
Now go.
Now the fun part. So this is just one light segment we love to keep so that people can know you better. Best advice to someone planning a large-scale event?
Think big, but think small. It's the small details that will make it big. It's not the big that will make it big. In trying to go big, we most often miss the small details, the intricate pieces that hold it all together. Have the vision, make sure it's big, but keep your implementation focused on the small.
Super. Funniest thing ever happened at your event?
Me dancing on stage.
No. Sabbas, you have to give us a better one. Give us some goss, like some Bollywood story.
They're always sensitive stories.
Yeah.
Can't.
Can't. But any other that comes to your mind? A funny anecdote?
No.
No?
Not that comes to my mind straight away.
Not that I want to say, actually. If you had to create a reality TV show on your journey, what would it be called?
The journey beyond.
One thing you could do differently at the Michael Jackson concert?
Sit down there and enjoy the concert.
Oh! And that comes to my last question. If you could invite any 3 historical figures for a dinner party that you were hosting, who would they be?
Martin Luther King, Mahatma Gandhi, and Chris Martin.
Oh, wow.
I'd want a 4th person, 4th and 5th actually. Michael Jackson and Mother Teresa.
Oh my God. And this room would be epic.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Sabbas. With this, guys, it's a wrap, and we've had such an amazing episode with Mr. Sabbas Joseph. Thank you so much. This was an amazing and insightful episode that we have just done with Mr. Sabbas Joseph, and I hope you have loved it because it was amazing to hear this stalwart of our industry. If you've liked this, please do like and ensure you subscribe to the Wedding Podcast.